Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Oh, everybody's having a fantastic, whatever day you're watching this. If you're new to the live show, thanks for stopping by. This is my little corner of YouTube where I get to interact directly with you guys, bring y'all some behind the scenes stuff that's going on with some ride review bikes that I have coming up. If you've got questions about ride reviews that I have done, now is the time to ask. It's also an opportunity for me to get through some topics that I tried to do standalone videos for, which sometimes go great, sometimes they are practically unwatchable. Believe me, I know, I see the quality of content that I put out. I am not immune to that. So, anyway, listen, this is basically just a background noise generator. And sometimes I'll have screenshots or something like that in the background, but usually it's just me hanging out with you guys. It's also an opportunity for me to walk through some topics that sometimes can't make it to this politely put, it can't really, I just kind of screw up a video, have way too many takes coming into it, and I just say, screw it, we're going to talk about this on the live show. So before I dive too deep into this, let me get into you guys. Sam is in. Mr. Wick is in, saying, good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Wick. Armac is in. What is going on? Got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. So soon enough, next week, we will have for our early birds here. We're going to have a new addition to the family in the fleet, and I will be showcasing that machine on Tuesday, it looks like. So we will see. Shane's asking, oh, this is also an opportunity. I used to do a lot of Mopar and car content. I basically went away from that in standalone videos. So if you've got questions, car stuff, I will dabble into that sometimes as well. And Shane's asking, how do you feel about the 6-pack Charger debut to the streets and content? Haven't been keeping up with it. Here's the thing. That car is too damn expensive. I don't really care how you want to play it. As good as it may be, I'm just not a player, but I will say this. I like where Dodge is going with that car. All-wheel drive, plenty of power, scoots. Look, it's big, comfortable, and really for what it is, it hauls ass. And I will say this, in terms of practical vehicles that you can have fun with that will go fast, hate to tell you, but the Hurricane Inline 6 is molly-whopping the Hemi variants, no matter how you cut it. And look, it's a big, heavy car. It weighs 4,800 pounds. My truck, I haven't weighed it. Let's say it weighs 5,800 pounds. You realize that that truck in cold weather with a little bit of weight reduction, which is just to say I took the jack and the spare tire out of the thing and ran it shy on gas. That thing ran a string of 1320s and quite a few 13 teens in the quarter mile. Not many people noticed when I posted those videos. Yeah, funny, I should even mention that because not that many people even noticed when I broke the Hellcat record for stock boost 93 octane, but who cares, right? Who's counting, right? Yeah, okay, it hurts. Anyway, it's a great car. It's going to do well, looks good, all of that. I'm just really not a player on a Leviathan like that car, but I see where it could do well, and I also see quite a bit of potential for street performance. And that's really where it counts with that car. And in that respect, it's going to be a hell of a winner in my book. Let's see. Bear with me. Ryan, post-ride interview of the CF Moto 450SS video coming possibly. Yes, it is. So be on the lookout for that. I tried to get through that video a few times, and I found myself, okay, check this out, behind the scenes. A lot of times when I do post-ride or ride reviews, it's standalone videos, I should say, there can be 18, 20, 25 takes for each one of those videos that I do. Sometimes there's only one. And that's normally how the ride reviews go because I'm fresh, I'm into it. You're catching me as I'm experiencing it in real time. In many cases, it'll be the first time I've ridden the bike on the street, but I'll have that bike in the back lot. I'll play around with it, do some brake stuff, and I'll do that. Or I will take the bike around the block real quick and, like I'll scuff in the tires, for example, just make sure the tires are good if it's one of the new bikes, but I'm not really riding the thing. And the post ride on the 450 SS, though, in any other standalone video, I could not get through that video without dragging the name of every Triumph 400 that I've ever ridden in. The Daytona 660 caught some flack on that one. The Trident 660 got a piece of that ass too. And basically what I had said about the CF Moto, and I had to reel this in a little bit and try to figure out a way to present this without sounding like a complete asshole, was there are some manufacturers that are on notice with CF Moto with the 450 SS. Now, I don't want to get too deep into that. Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that on the live show. This time, I'm going to try to put that out there, but the 450 SS at the price point that it's at will cover 100 miles an hour very easily on the highway, which is a number that can be a bit like, how do I put this? To be a motorbike on the motorway, you've got to be able to have power on reserve to cover the triple digit number. And the 450 does it easily, not just like kind of easily. Watch the video. I actually had to roll out of the throttle to chill that bike down to keep it under 3 digits. Nothing in the pantheon of other motorcycles that are in that displacement class, in that price point, in that type of bike. I'm not talking about the ZX4. You guys know what kind of bikes I'm talking about. You have to get up into the 660 Daytona or the Trident or the CBR 650s, bikes like that to, R7. Okay. And that's the other thing, because you got to get into those bikes to get into the power level and the whatever performance envelope of the 450. But here's the thing. I hung a little bit too heavy on other motorcycles and I didn't focus on the bike that I was doing the video on. So that was my bad. And I need to go back. I did the video. I thought it was going well when I was taping it. And then I started watching it because sometimes you kind of have to. I got to sit there and listen to me go on. Anyway, I started listening to it and I didn't really like it. So I'm going to have to redo that somehow. So anyway, let me get back to you guys. Mr. Wick's asking, question on thinking of running slicks this year at track. Is 180/60/17 a good choice rather than 190/55/17? Yes, it is. I like the 180/60 because it is a taller tire. It's a chunkier tire, and you're not, 190/55, you're not going to eat the whole tire up. You're not going to be using the whole tire more than likely. But a 180/60, you definitely won't. And you're going to have this big old contact patch when you're on the side of the tire, and it's going to tip in easier. So yes, I like 190/55 for the street. I like 180/55 for the street, frankly. But once you start getting into track days and you really start leaning on these things and you're pushing it really hard, I would probably argue that 180/60 is the way you're going to want to go if you're going to run a slick. If you're running street style tires, just pick whichever tires you like to rock and do that. Sam's saying, when are we going to get pre-fight Friday? Love talking Warbirds. Pre-flight. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where I'm going with that. I would kind of like to talk about the Warbirds, but really more from an engine standpoint and the engine development standpoint, not necessarily the planes. The problem with me and Warbird stuff is that once you get past, say, 1943 with me, 43, 44, and 45, I'm kind of not interested in those. And I don't know, guys go, what are you talking about? Okay, let me tell you what I'm talking about. Planes like the Corsair and the Hellcat on the Navy side, Wright R2800, tons of power, water meth, all this other stuff. The Thunderbolt is part of this too. Same engine configuration, but it was turbocharged. High altitude ass kicker, right? Lots of firepower, but those are airplanes that were developed after the Allies knew what they were going to be realistically up against. The P-51 Mustang, everybody's darling, P-51. P-51 can toss them for all I care. It's not that I'm against the P-51, although without the Merlin engine, that thing is just basically a tarted up P-40. It doesn't have the good roll rate that the 40 does. But the reason why I'm not such a big fan of them is because they got into a bit more of a specialized place. My favorite planes to talk about are the interwar period leading up to 1942, where you had just figured out how this whole air war thing was going to play out, what kind of machines were needed. Because getting up to that point, nobody knew. Like, how does airplane fighting even work? And by that time, monoplanes were kind of a thing, but even then they didn't have it figured out. They were using race airplanes in trying to convert some of that technology into fighters. And so a lot of that translated, a lot of it didn't. Different countries had different ways of going about designing aircraft for specific theaters or for specific just ways of going about doing business. The Oscar and the Zero from Japan had a very aerobatic, well, I shouldn't say aerobatic, handling, turn performance, climb rate. That's what those airplanes were all about. Diving and roll rate didn't matter. It was only turn performance, not actual aerobatic type stuff. Where it counts, lightweight, the whole bit. The States had a different way of going about things. It was basically you build it like a tank. It's a heavy duty thing that is supposed to haul ass and have high aerobatic abilities. Doesn't have to necessarily turn hard because that's where G-forces start to come into play. Anyway, lots of different ways of going about it. So I'm trying to figure out, maybe get into that a little bit, dabble into it every once in a while. Let's see. Armac's asking, yeah, been asking for about 6 months. I need to get on that. I really do. Is it comment? So what are your thoughts on the CFMoto 675 SS? Well, I know Armac is big time in love with his. I haven't run mine, or I haven't run one on my channel. I've sat on one, but the only CFMoto that I have any practical experience with is the 450. And that thing is really, really, really good. I think for me, the 450 sitting on it is much more intuitive in terms of seating position. The CFMoto is just different. Not that it's bad. It's actually the CFMoto. Hey, the 675, I did get a chance to throw a leg over the KTM RCR 990. Hey, Armac, the 670, it's like KTM said, oh, well, they kind of, KTM and CFMoto, right? They're like this. It's almost like they said, oh, wait a minute, we got to get the bar, the angle, and the width off the 675. That really works well. And it's almost the seating position and everything is practically identical to the RCR 990. Kind of a fun fact for you on that bike. I meant to mention that last time and I forgot to. Let's see. Oh, Carmen's hanging out with Armac. Skids is in. Good evening. Good evening, Skids. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Don't let me miss you if I miss you. Oh, hang on. Okay. Cody's asking, why don't you like the Ninja 650 and what would you get instead? Well, the Ninja 650 is, it depends. Okay, look, Ninja 650, I don't really like it or dislike it. It's a bike that I might not necessarily own myself. If I was getting a bike like that, shit, man, I'd have to say, take a look at the CFMoto 675. Take a look. Oh, okay. Instead of the Ninja 650, maybe take a look at the GSX 8R. It's something with a little bit more punch. The 650 parallel twin. The thing is I never rode it, but I know guys that have, and they're a little bit underwhelmed by that bike. So there are some other bikes in that class that you would probably want. Oh, the Hornet 750 is another one. There are some other bikes that kind of fit that class designation that I think are a little bit better performance minded type bikes. But if you can get a 650 and it's a steel and you're just going to use it as like a commuter or something like that, if you like it, go with it. Sam's liking unicycle people. Unicycle people are weird to me. Let's see. Pabsy's asking, what is your opinion on a GSXR 600 for a first-time rider? I saw Stubbs is about 40 minutes from me. Might go and check them out. What does that little thing right there say? GSXR 600? Is that what that says? Love the GSXR 600. As far as being a first-time rider, it depends on what your background is with motorcycles. If you have a background in like dirt bikes, e-bikes, something like that, anything that will go, I don't know, over 45 or 50 miles an hour, and you've got enough time on that machine, then yeah, 600 is good. But let's not forget that 600 Super Sports are nothing to sneeze at. And it is usually a 600 Super Sport for most guys nowadays is a second bike. Now, when I was young, you would have seen me on a motorcycle, I don't know, that would look something a lot like this. So you would have seen me buzzing around Northern California on a bike that looks a lot like that, practically identical. And love the bikes, love GSXR 600s. Are one of my all-time favorite machines. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I would go so far to say this. I mean, I'm equally as happy on a 600 as I am the 750, almost. I'd say 52% versus 48%. But I love that bike. Stay tuned, by the way. Karma's like it, or Kamim, I'm messing your name up, is what he has. He's first time rider. Very nice. Skid's talking about this 650. Yeah, it's a 180 crank. That's right. And it is kind of a bland engine. It doesn't really sound that great. Skid's saying, yeah, R7 for sure, or a 650. I'll put it to you like this. Get the R7. If you're thinking about the Ninja 650, just get the R7. It is leaps and bounds better of a bike. GSX-8R, by the way, is probably the easiest bike and one of the best motorcycles that you can ever throw a leg over. It's one of my favorite bikes to ride. Sam saying after World War II, the experimentals, those were kind of cool, are a lot more interesting as the supersonic prop planes. Well, those never went supersonic. Their props went supersonic. They were loud as hell. There's been rumors that some planes almost got supersonic, the prop stuff. The reason why they didn't, or the reason why they didn't really get, nobody really tried. There was actually some hybrid stuff going on. They would, there was propeller with jet. There was propeller with rocket. They did a lot of stuff there, but the problem is that it's tough to get a propeller to airplane with the wing geometry and with ailerons and with rudders that will have any kind of authority at supersonic speeds to get to supersonic speeds. It's all transonic, and that's where they started figuring out that everything was going totally wrong with some of these things. But it was actually with some of the there was some initial I think they're called like super props, if you want to call them that, like something, lots of power, right? That would get up around 550, 560, like the Reno guys. The problem with those planes is that you do start to lose control authority because the air going over the top of the wing starts to go supersonic, and the air under it is obviously subsonic. And that's where things get real dicey. By the way, with the X1 or whatever, that's where Chuck Yeager when he lost all command authority with the elevator, what had happened is that a lot of times you get wing warp, which will also remove any authority whatsoever out of control surfaces. And he forced the stick down. Well, the funny thing is that because of how everything had warped around, forcing the stick down created an eddy that actually added elevator. It basically added altitude when he forced the stick down when he started getting past or into transonic areas. It's a real weird thing. That's an area where things got really goofy. Let's see. Beatles in saying, good morning. Good morning. Sam, the Sportster is not the Chevy Prism. Not the old one. The old Sportster was the race bike for Harley Davidson. And that's one of the things. In fact, it's funny you bring the Sportster up. I was wanting to do more Harley Davidson content this year, and I'm working on that. And one of the bikes that is number one on my list is a 1200 Sportster. It is one of my all-time favorite motorcycles. It's a bike that gets a little, I don't know why that bike doesn't get the love that it should, because in motorcycling history, it would have been that bike versus the Triumph Bonneville in street racing. Like, it's got a hell of a lot of street cred from, back in the 50s and 60s. SR is saying 16 Scat Pack, 94,000 miles. Keep it, sell it, make it a 426. Currently runs very well. Keep it. Don't go 426. Do not waste your money with that. Please, whatever you do, freshen it up, keep it clean, have it looking good, keep good gas in it, change the oil in it, and don't mess with that car, please. And I only say that because after being in that world for as long as I was in that world, I would see guys just waste a ton of money on stroker motors for those things. It's not flipping worth it. I developed a cam when I was at Pikes Performance that basically just added power everywhere. Not really any lope to speak of. But basically the way I describe it is I 426 to 392. And it makes good torque. It makes good up there in power and all this other stuff. And it sold that cam to a bunch of shops, and that Pikes sold a bunch of them. It was a really good setup, but that is as far as I would take an NA Hemi. And quite honestly, don't even do that. Just get it tuned, get it sorted out. If you even want to go that far with it, and leave it alone. Please do yourself all the favors. Don't spend the money on that car. And I'm talking about long tubes and everything else. Don't do it. Fab's asking, I have a background in dirt bikes and already took the MSF course. Then if you've already done that, then I would say you're probably okay with the 600. Skywalker is saying, I am a current, is that Skywalker Ranch up in NorCal? That's where I had my wreck. I am a current leader bike owner, RSV4, beautiful bike. And I want a second bike. I'm thinking 25 CBR 650R or a 25 650R is not, no, you do not want that bike. Or a 25 plus GSXR 750, you definitely want that bike. Or a 25 plus ZX6R. Okay, the way that you are used to riding your RSV4 and the feedback that you get from the RSV4 is going to favor the GSXR 750. If you had a GSXR 1000, I would say then the ZX6R would probably be a better fit for you. But where you're at now, get a GSXR 750 or a GSXR 600. And you will love that bike, by the way. Sam saying modern car stuff is not my thing. I prefer trucks and diesel stuff. I'm having a hard time getting into some of the newer stuff myself. Harmac saying, y'all got the Easter egg you dropped with the manual? I mean, I did print some shit, you know what I'm saying? Skid's hanging out. The Sportsters are amazingly, criminally underrated. Dude, I am telling you. I mean, man, I just, Sporty with the Hammer 1275 kit. If I do run across one, yeah, I will be riding that bike. Believe that, my friend. And I'll do a video. Okay. Yeah, no doubt about it. Damn, I can't give it away yet. We do have a new winner for longest rolling burnout, though, by the way. It's kind of an impromptu thing. Did it today, as a matter of fact. One of the previous podium finishers was the Harley Davidson Pan American, which I really like that bike. And it's just a shame that, talking about Harley stuff, again, getting back to it, I do want to do more Harley Davidson content. I would love to get a Sportster. Old school Sportsters are still near and dear to my heart. Would like to do a cafe build on one of those bikes at some point. I almost feel like I'm just not doing myself justice if I don't have at least one cafe'd out Sportster in my life. Although I do have my Bonneville, and it's all of that and then some, and it's just the British version of that bike. Armac saying it could be a Triumph Tiger. I'm wondering. Oh, you talking about the thing that I showed? The Easter egg? Now, what? So I'm going to announce it on Tuesday, but you are in. So, what did I just do? I hit the wrong button just there. But there's something that might be listing that over here. But no, it is not a Triumph Tiger. Although I will say this. The Tiger 850 is still one of my all-time favorite motorcycles. And a lot of folks, Tiger 850, why is that? It is the most surprising bike. It is the bike that got me kind of into the sport utility style motorcycle. I know people say it's an adventure bike. It's a sport tour. It's a freaking sport utility bike. Okay. Titles are made up and I'm making this one up. And some people bothered by that can jog on, right? But that 850 was such a good bike. The problem is that I couldn't get my hands on one for monies that I could afford. However, if one of them were to just fall out of the sky and land in my lap, I would use it as a daily. That's how much I like that bike. Skids, Texas Harley up there in Bedford had 5 to 6 40s sitting out front today. There is a beautiful blue one at Stubbs that I haven't had a chance to go over and check out that I am hoping to get a ride and review on if I can talk Dave into it. It is so pretty. It is it is the bike that I would buy. Let's see. Skywalker saying, noted. Thank you. I just wish that Zook would give this Gixxer 750 and 600 TFT display and some more electronics. However, the simplicity and rawness of a tried and true basic middleweight is a plus. It's a big plus. And let me tell you something. I am with you that I would like to see Suzuki offer up an option. But I will say this. I would not put a TFT on any of my Gixxer middleweights. And I got to say that I am not a big fan of quick shifters anymore. I know, right? Look, here's the thing. For some bikes, you need it. But for the Gixxer middleweight, I would like to see the option. Just, yes, let's option that bike out with that bit of technology. And I would probably be a player with that, especially if it were a solid state sensor and not a plunger style sensor. Then I'm doubly on board with that. But I got to say, the Gixxer 6 and the Gixxer 750 are so good. The gearbox is so slick. The throttle response, even when they're stock, those bikes when they're stock are very good for blip downshifts. There's so much that is good about that bike that I personally, now that I've been riding the GSXR middleweights that I've been riding of late, I do argue that a quick shifter, although it's necessary as an option, is, for me anyway, it's a takeaway, not an add-on for that bike. So because there is no rider aid, there is no ABS, there is no whatever, it's so good without it, that it will remind you of what it was like to learn how to ride fast all over again. I will say this. If you spend a ton of time with a motorcycle that has a quick shifter and then you go to ride a bike without one, though, your brain will get scrambled the first, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes that you're riding the bike that doesn't have a quick shifter, because you're looking for that shift that ain't going to happen. And then once I get used to riding a bike without a quick shifter, I forget that the bike that I'm riding that has a quick shifter has a quick shifter, and I ride it just like it doesn't have one. Go figure, right? But yeah, I am a monster fan of the GSXR middleweights, and I can't say enough good things about those bikes. This kid saying when I would switch between the Duck and the Harley, it would mess with me. Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because if I go between like the GSXR 1000 and the GSXR 750, what I find is that I just shift the 1000 like it doesn't have a quick shifter for about the first 4.5 or 5 minutes that I'm riding it. So yeah, it's kind of funny too, because whenever I've had a chance to, to ride other bikes, one of the first things that I will play with is the quick shifter. Can I preload it, or does it flake out? The thing is, a lot of quick shifters, it's interesting. The way you have your shift lever set based on like the shoe or boot that you're wearing, that absolutely makes a difference with how that shifter works. Because if you have any slight preload on that thing, it can piss off the system. And that's a very real thing. And it's something that I noticed with my GSXR 1000 is that, man, look, there's times where that quick shifter just is not happy with life. And most of the time it's because, well, initially it was because I had the shifter set too low. When I raised everything back up, when I started wearing boots again, I really did. I had to raise it up quite a bit more. I found that just the top part of that boot would touch it, and that would be enough to piss that thing off. So go figure. Skywalker saying my RSV4 feels like a video game. They are awesome. I rebuilt a wrecked 1998 Blackbird CBR 1100. Very cool bike. And when I first rode that old thing, it felt like a time machine. I think we become so used to the quick shifters. I know that's right. I tell you what, one of the bikes that really kind of redefined there's a couple of them that redefined how good a quick shifter can be. That is the Hayabusa and the XSR 900. Those two bikes have got quick shifters that are so freaking good that they create a phenomenal argument for quick shifters for these bikes. There's bikes that have lousy quick shifters, like the ZX6R, the weird feel to them, like the GSXR 1000 can. There are some out there that have a bit of a spongy feel, or in the case of the Kawasaki, has a feel that is, it needs to have a solid state. If you have a solid state quick shifter sensor, usually all your problems go away. Anyway, Skid said, I really enjoyed your BMW K1600 vid. I enjoyed making that video. That was a fun bike to ride. You did mention how good that quick shifter was, which was another one. Yeah, very, very, very good one. I really like the K1600B, the bagger version. I think it's better looking looks-wise. The K1600 is a hell of a machine. And I will say this, the only thing, it wasn't a bad thing, it's the throttle mapping on that bike. The first third of the throttle is very, very sedate. And then the last 2/3 of the throttle are very aggressive. It has a very sloping up curve to it. So yeah, one of the best. I'd say K1600 right up there with the Hayabusa and the XSR. Let's not forget about the K1600. It was really, really good. I'll tell you another shifter, by the way, that wasn't a quick shifter, the Concourse 14. Holy cow. That bike felt eerily similar to the GSXR 750 with how good the shifter felt and with the clutch feel as well. So yeah, definitely some cool experiences already so far this year. And I'll tell you what, the concourse is getting quite a bit of love out there. So for you guys that have been supporting that video, thank you all so much. It was a lot of fun to make. So behind the scenes, I promise y'all some behind the scenes stuff on that. The Concourse 14 in an off-camera situation with the bags, luggage, whatever on the bike, pulled a sinister second gear power wheelie. And keep in mind, that bike does not have a quick shift or anything like that. So I'm rolling into the throttle, expecting it to spin a little bit. The bike actually hooked and starts coming up in second gear, and I just keep pouring the power to it. And it comes up, fan third, and just kept pouring the power to it. And it just sits right back down. One of the all-time fun experiences with a motorcycle, and it acted a lot like a Hayabusa too. So if you can imagine putting, like a Gen 3 Hayabusa. So if you can imagine, putting bags on a Gen 3 Hayabusa, it ran. Hayabusa is obviously, but you get the idea. It was a lot of fun. Very sporty bike. I didn't expect that at all. Let's see. Skywalker saying, everyone knocks Suzuki for minimal innovation or big changes, but it's worth noting that they have stayed solidly relevant with one quote unquote outdated bikes. Let me just say this. So in talking to, when I did the demo days with Suzuki, I was able to spend quite a bit of time with their reps. Okay. And I asked them about that. I said, why no innovation? Why no quick shifter? Why no TFT? And the guy goes, it works out like this. He said, the GSXR middleweights and the Hayabusa, he left out the leader bike. But he goes, look at it like this. And it made sense what he was saying. He goes, look, Suzuki sells every GSXR middleweight that they make. Every single one of them sells. And the people that are buying that bike and the Hayabusa, by the way, are legacy Suzuki customers. Many cases are guys that are just getting another or a new version of a bike that they already had or that they had in the past. And those buyers, very much like Harley Davidson buyers, want the old school flavor. They want the analog tack. They want the LCD speedo. They don't want quick shifters or anything like that. They don't want LED headlights. Let me tell you something. You ever ride a GSXR 600 or 750 at night? The halogen headlight, that airplane headlight that's on the front of that thing, lights up the entire street like it's crazy, right? But that is what those buyers want. Again, and they sell every one of those bikes that they make. To add to that, he goes, look, yes, the bike is in a limited market, but the machines that make the bike, they're running at full capacity. They're always delivering motorcycles to dealerships. When's the last time you showed up to a Suzuki dealership and they didn't have a GSXR 600 and 750 on the floor? Has that ever happened? No, they're always there. And they're always turning that inventory as well. Ask me how I know. But look at motorcycles like the Yamaha R9, CBR 600s. Those bikes are either like the R9, not in the dealership, or the 600, which doesn't really sell all that well. But a GSXR 600, and you can pretty much bet that that bike is not going to be floor planned for much longer than about 90 days. So it's just the way that these things work. And here's the other thing. Why innovate? It's kind of hard to say that you can build a better anvil, right? Like, how do you make a better anvil? I don't know, but Suzuki isn't going to change something that has 0 recalls, tons of love from everybody that rides them, remains relevant, remains at the top of its class in one way, shape, or form. There's no incentive. In fact, they are disincentivized to put any money into making that bike quote unquote relevant when again they're buying core public, if you will, just doesn't that's not what they're looking for. And again, it's interesting when when somebody puts it to you in those types of terms, you can't really argue with it. From a business standpoint, why are you going to sink, $5, $6, $8 million into trying to get a bike quote unquote better when that better is not the thing that your customer wants? When it's a quality that your customer is not looking for, a lot of times you're best to leave well enough alone and keep selling a bike that a lot of dudes keep buying over and over and over again, myself included. But with that, guys, looks like we are coming up on about 40, 45 minutes into the show. I am going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. So any other questions, anything you guys want to chat about, go ahead and jump in the chat. Looking forward to bringing you guys some new content soon with a new addition to the family, to the fleet. RMAG saying, I figured out what the new middleweight is. Excellent. Skid saying, excellent points. Have a blessed one. Yes, same to you. Have a blessed one, my friend. RMAG, yes. It is, again, going to be fun. And Terminator saying draggy. I probably should do some draggy hits with some of these bikes. Maybe a 60 to 130 with the leader bike or something like that. Although that goes by actually 60 to 130 is kind of hard to do with that thing because it's hard to keep the front end of that bike on the ground. I wonder if they got, is there I think there's a 100 to 150 though. That'd be an easy one to do with any of the GSXR 750 and the 1000. That'd be a fun one to do, like 100 to 150. So both of those bikes will wrap that up real quick. But with that, guys, Armax said it'd be neat to watch for draggy videos. I'll see if I can somehow or another make that happen. That's kind of hard to do, though. It's kind of hard to do without it being kind of clumsy because the rig that I would have to use, I could probably make it work. I think I've got all kinds of hardware over there. I might play around with that idea at some point. Even though my draggy videos or any videos like that don't really do all that great, at least with the car stuff. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. But with that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Y'all take it easy.